You're listening to Enhance's bonus segment, Weird Wednesday. Weird Wednesday is our time to talk about the strange, the unsettling, and the spooky. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Welcome to Enhance Podcast, Weird Wednesday.
Weird Wednesday. I'm gonna start doing gang signs every time we get on. Yeah, Weird Wednesday, guys.
Anyways, this is season. It's okay. So do I. This is season 2 episode first bonus episode of Weird Wednesday. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Welcome.
it is currently we're recording it a little early. Before actual Weird Wednesday. Thank Jesus. It's currently June 25th. Gabby, did you have a fun weekend? What'd you do this weekend?
Oh my God, it's been so busy. I went to Fall Out Boy on Friday.
My God.
I saw flames, I saw fireworks, and I saw Mr. Patrick, and that's all I needed. And then I had a wedding. Shout out to my friend Elsa from high school and my friend Clayton from childhood. I matched with them, and they just got married.
Wait,
I
you
know.
match made them?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. For those who know, for those who are the real ones, they know it was me because
Wow.
Clayton came up to me. We were at 4th of July in Forest Park, and he said, "Do you think she likes me? Like, do you think I should go talk to her?" And I was like, "Yes," because I already knew.
Wait. When was this? Like, tell me, like, how far back this go?
2015.
So you were like, a senior in high school?
About to be, yeah.
Crazy.
We were like, what was that, summer of like between junior and senior year? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, because I already knew Elsa liked him. Like, she already thought he was cute. And he was like, "What if she doesn't like me?" And I was like, "Clayton," I was like, why would I tell you yes if I already like know she like if I'm one of her best friends, you're gonna tell me that I'm gonna tell you yes and walk into a crappy situation? No. And then here we are, and they're in love, and they had such a beautiful wedding, and it was gorgeous. So I was at that. And
What a
then
beautiful wedding! What a beautiful wedding!
which is so funny because he's obsessed with Panic at the Disco. So like,
really?
Yes, he is, 100%.
My ADHD brain just played a prank on me, and I almost went to sing that and be like, "Oh my God, Fall Out Boy!" And then I was like, "Wait a minute, that's not Fall Out Boy. That's Panic at the Disco."
How could you disgrace that?
Don't worry, it was literally like it literally happened within like a millisecond in my head. I was like, "Fall Out Boy." Wait, no, Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco. I don't know. It's very fun. It was a good wedding. It was beautiful. They're beautiful. Their love is beautiful. And I'm so excited to see where their, married life takes them. It's amazing. Literally sobbed the entire ceremony.
We love it. So, are there any pictures, any pickies on the Instas?
There will be. There will be when this drops.
Yeah, you definitely, yeah. So if you are listening to this, go blow up Gabby's Instagram and like the pictures and wish the beautiful couple a happy life together. Because we do that here. We spread positivity.
So cute. So what about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend has been amazing. One thing, and I posted on Instagram about it, so you can also go blow up my Instagram if you want. But there is this event that happens in my hometown since I like officially am back here and everything, and it's called Peach Jam because like Clanton's thing is, well, Chilton County's thing is peaches, right? And it's mainly in Clanton, but like it is in all of Chilton County. Like where like you can find signs like all over the place in the southeast. It's like Chilton County peaches because like we are a big peach industry here. And if you're leaving Clanton, like going northbound on I-65, there's a big peach water tower right as you're like leaving Clanton, like going into the Jemison area. So it's really cool, and you can see it from the interstate, and it's like a staple thing here. But we have this event every year called Peach Jam, or like the Peach Jam Jubilee. And I have only been able to go once since I left Clinton for college. And that one time was during college, but I don't know. I think it was because I honestly couldn't tell you. Like, it was like really small and like not a lot was going on. Right. And so this year, though, because I was back in 2018 whenever I last went, this year, oh my God, it was huge.
Oh,
Like they had
really?
like, yeah, they had multiple like live singers that were like decently well known, and they had like tons of vendors, and it was just so cool because I got like there were so many like small business owners and stuff like that that I got to meet and talk to, and I ran into this friend of mine from high school that I haven't gotten to see since I like visited him in college and stuff like that. And we got to chat for a little bit. I ran into some old teachers that have been like really, I didn't realize like it sounds so weird, but like being me and like the kind of like, even though like our platforms are still kind of small-ish, like they're growing, and I feel like it's pretty well known like what we stand for. We stand for like
Sure.
equality and diversity and things like that. And it's a pretty like liberal and open-minded and progressive at its like true meaning of progressiveness, like people working together, like talking to people that view things differently from you. Like that's the kind of platform that we have and grow. And sorry, there's something on my face, and it's like in like I can see it in my eye, and it's getting on my nerves. But anyways, so, but I got to see some high school teachers, and it was two of them, and I saw that, and whenever I was talking to them, they both were just like, I could feel the support and love they had for me. They were like, it is so great getting to see you like on Facebook and getting to keep up with you. And one of them was like, you're just doing such cool stuff. Like, this is amazing. Like, so, because they didn't know that I like moved back here, and I was like, yeah, I officially like moved back here very recently. It was kind of like I was maybe going to whenever I came back and visited in like October, but I have officially moved back. And they're like, but you're gonna still keep doing your stuff, right? And I was like, yeah, I
Oh,
totally am. Yeah. And it
they're
was just,
so cute.
I know, it was just so refreshing and so nice because like I could genuinely just feel that support. But I also just got to meet some like really cool people that are like locals to Chilton County or the surrounding areas too. Like there's this girl that I wish I could remember what her store name was, but hopefully maybe we'll like do some work with her or something soon. I don't know. But she sells crystals. And so I got to buy some
Oh.
crystals from her, and she's Wiccan and I'm pagan. So like, we got to have that conversation and stuff like that. So it was really awesome. Like it was cool. It was a great time.
Oh, that's like so sweet. I always love when you can run into people that you know and they just like bring you back like to a different time and a different energy, and then they bring like such positivity that you can like grasp onto as an adult, especially when it's those like childhood, friends, acquaintances, teachers. I always love rehaving those conversations with them and being able to really just be like, oh wait, you're like actually really cool. Like, thank
Mhm.
you for being there for me when I didn't even know I needed someone to be there. It's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, I'm gonna do this real quick and just see, and I'll cut it out. But can you hear that? Yeah, cool. I just got paranoid, and I was like, "What if my mic isn't going to the right place?" Anyways, but yeah, it was just very refreshing, very great, and and it was cool too because it was like two of my like favorite teachers too that I had throughout the
Oh,
years. So it
love
was
that.
really nice, like knowing like, okay, you like support me, like it doesn't like I don't know what their views are or anything like that. Um, but it's just nice to know that like they still have that support for me, which really goes back, like I said, to the true meaning of like being progressive, which is like supporting, listening to other people and things like that, that they may come from a different background or different view from you, but like you still listen, support each other, love each other, like hope for the best for each other. Like it was really refreshing and nice.
Oh,
And
so fun.
yeah, but I got to buy some granola. I bought so much stuff. Like I spent way too much money. There was this girl that she does like stained glass, like figurines and stuff like that. And so I bought my mom. My
Oh,
mom's birthday is coming up on July 16th. So
happy
yeah,
birthday,
you guys.
Mom.
I know you guys go tell her happy birthday. But so I got her the stained glass hummingbird,
Oh,
like
cute.
window like art where you like hang it in front of your window and stuff like that so the sun can shine through and everything. So I got her that, and I got some granola, someone who makes like hand makes granola in Clanton or in Chilton County.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
yeah, I got it was really cool. It was great. So yeah, but that was my weekend. And then today I'm recording with the lovely Gabby. So even better.
Weird Wednesdays. Weird Wednesday.
Also,
Okay, that's
apologies
gonna
in
get a new
advance for
sticker.
me looking like a highlighter. This is a shirt from a movie that I worked on. It was we had a knockoff of, am I allowed to say this? It's so basically we had to make up a store that's like one of those big like hunting kind of stores, like a Bass Pro Shop and like your big like Dick's Sporting Goods, stuff like that. So like That's what this was. Trout Plus is what they made up. I really hope I don't get in trouble for that because the movie hasn't come out yet, but I haven't told you anything about the movie. So Universal, don't sue me. But anyways, so but this was like one of the wrap gifts that the set decoration department like made for everybody, and they had some leftovers, so they brought them by accounting because I worked in accounting on that one. And they're like, "Do you guys want some shirts?" And I was like, "You bet your ass I want a shirt. Please, thank you." You know, like
you bet your ass I want a shirt.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, if it's a memento for something you did, I always say, yeah, just give it to me right now, immediately.
Exactly. So yeah, but I mean, on that, my boss and one of our good friends that was in the locations department got me a little wrap gift. It was for my cats. They got my cats they got me 2 wrap gifts. They got me a gift card to buy not sponsored, but I wish we were sponsored by them at Activated You. If you ever want to sponsor me, I've reached out to them. I've been so desperate. I've been like, please, please, please sponsor us. Look, I love Activated You so much. But anyways, so they gave me a gift card to get my Activated You, and they got my cats catnip infused little puffball toy things. So I didn't get to like have a memento from the movie, but I got to get some cool stuff, so I'm not mad about it. But yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. But anyways, I guess I'll wrap that up. I've sat here and talked about my weekend and movies and shit like that for a while, so we can get into it. This is Weird Wednesday, and today we have some really cool topics picked out for you guys. Gabby is going to start us off, and I'll let Gabby introduce her topic.
Yeah, so I did palmistry, which is something that's, relevant, especially in like the witchy world right now. Like people are really into like palmistry, auras, tarot cards, dreams, things like that. So I really wanted to jump into palmistry and just see what it was about, kind of get like a general view of it. And when I tell you, it is very in depth. It is very in depth. There's just a lot of things to look for when you're doing it too. So
have you ever gotten a palm reading before?
I have once. It was in high school for our little graduation thing. They had like a casino night, they had the massage people, they had a hypnotist, and then they had a palm reader. And I remember having her read my hand. And I don't know if she was legit or not, to be honest, but she was like, "Your hands are rough, you're a hard worker." And that's all I remember from the entire reading. And I was like, I mean, I put lotion on them, like you could see, like they're not like I have some eczema going on, so like ignore that. But like as a high schooler, I didn't have eczema on my hands. It was only on my legs. So I don't know. I don't know if
she said, I'm gonna insult you. There you go.
Literally, she said, "Let me read your palm.
You have manly hands.
You have rough hands. You're a hard worker." And I was like, I mean, thank you.
Thanks, I guess.
Yeah, like I mean, it was interesting. Like, I mean, I'm sure she said something else that was like mind blowing, but I don't remember.
That was mind blowing.
I'm sure she did, but my brain only sticks to that comment, and I don't know if it was just because like I got really insecure or like what.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, so like let's jump into it. So for those of you who don't know what palmistry is, it's known to be, the reading of your palm, which has to do with ridges, curves, and the lines of your hand.
Whoa, you can see my palm so well. Sorry, I just held it up to the camera. You can see it so well. So Gabby, you should totally give me like a little palm reading for yeah. I don't know. Can you see the lines that well on your side? Because I can see them
a little
like,
bit.
So clear.
I can see this line on your hand and this line, but that's it.
You know what's so crazy is that those are the 2 lines that every time I've gotten a palm reading before, like I say every time, I've never gotten a full palm reading. People have always just been like, I know what this line means and it's this. But those are the 2 lines that literally every single time people are like, wow, that's a really important line. And I'm like, cool, tell me about it. And they're like, I don't know, but it's just really important. So yeah. Anyways,
no, and it's interesting because like depending on what you're reading, it can be telling of your personality. It could be potentially about your future. It could, tell your astrology. Like you'll hear a lot of references when you're doing palmistry to astrology and planets and just like stars. So it's kind of interesting how everything's interconnected.
Nice.
But not many people know where palmistry originated. That they have a lot of different influences and different cultures that were in, old Samaria, Babylonian, Arabian, Canaan, Persian, Nepal. Literally.
Arabian night. Yeah.
I mean, even in Tibet and China, like it's pretty widespread for where it was like used a lot, but there's really they think it's possibly nomadic, but there's no like full concrete proof that it was that first, which is really interesting. But like I said, some basics. So we have the lines. So like in the palm, you'll see that you'll have like a bunch of really distinct lines. Mounts are like the little puffy parts of your hand. Okay. And some of them are flatter. So if you have flat ones, it's okay. They just mean different things. It depends on like your hand shape and size as well. And then your fingers, the lines in your fingers, how your finger sits. So if yours like leans more this way or this way, that means something. And then ridges, which is also known as your fingerprints. So like, and people read like specific prints, like only this, or they'll read your whole palm with the ridges. And it can determine a lot about your personality and future. So I'm going to kind of focus on the lines today, just because it's a lot. It's a lot of memorization and a lot of like, a lot of focus that you don't think you would need to have. But it's very interesting. So I'm going to show you guys a picture. So I have been reading the In Focus Palmistry Personal Guide by Roberta Vernon. This is the book. Roberta Vernon. Thanks.
I like that.
I'm a little slow. You know this. So okay. I'm gonna show you kind of the general lines. You're gonna be overwhelmed. If you are just listening and you're not getting the full visual, pretty much there's like at least 15 or more lines on this hand. And I'll read you some of the ones that we're going to talk about today, but I'm going to be focusing on the heart line, the head line, the fate line, the lifeline, and the relationship lines. Ooh. So we can get a little bit more.
Those are all the things people want to know about. So like,
right. Those are all the really like popular ones. And I'm sure like, and I know there's like a bunch of mounds, like here's a visual of the mounds if you guys are looking for that. And pretty much there's about like 10 on there that are very prevalent, and I'm sure there's more, but this is just the visual, just so we can get a sense of what we're talking about here, because I'm a lost cause if I don't have visuals, let's be honest. Okay. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the heart line. So if you're looking at I would say your right hand, they're doing left. That's
something I was gonna ask you about. I've always heard, and I didn't know if this was like a wives' tale, and I didn't want to ask or not until you like got into it, because I didn't want to like take away from something you were gonna say at some point. But every time that somebody has like looked at my like palm for anything, they've always said that you have to do your not dominant hand.
So, which is really interesting. So I think for most palm readers, they'll do your left hand because that one's known for being like the one you were born with. Like your palm is your, like mine's my left hand is my non-dominant hand. So for me, it's like my left hand is what I was born with. And that's really close anyway. And then, but then there's other sources like this book that says you should actually be reading both hands. Which is, I don't understand how to do that exactly, but there's like a radial side and there's an ulna side, and they mean different things with that as well. So here's a visual of that. It's just a split hand that shows the radial and ulna in this book. But it's very interesting that it's very everything is intertwined, very interactive. Like you really have to be like focused to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on my left hand, I guess, just for the sake of doing it.
For shits and giggles.
Yeah. Literally lost my page, and I have a bookmark. Okay, here we go. Because I want to be able to describe this to people. So if you have if you're not driving or if you want to participate, you can use your left hand and I can walk you through what each one means. And hopefully by my descriptions, you can somewhat read your own palm. Okay, so the first one is the heart line, or known as the love line, which is the horizontal line you see on your palm. It's the very first one. So it would be on my palm right there. It's the
Okay, so it's
very
like
first one you said.
the top
Yes,
one.
the top, very first one on your palm. The top one is supposed to be your love line, pretty much.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. Yes. And this usually tells stories about, like actual love and relationships in life, but also like family love. So just take that with a
Aw,
grain of salt. Yeah, it kind of
platonic love.
goes both ways. So if your
Yeah.
heart line starts from your index finger and has a few breaks in it, this
Mine,
means good love, life, and fidelity.
mine don't have that.
Mine either. So, mine actually starts between my pointer and my middle finger. Well, I guess ends and then, well, no, begins. So I will have to look a little further there. So if the line starts from the middle finger and has many bends and fractures, it may mean a rocky relationship. So
Starts from where?
so mine starts right here, which is literally right under my middle finger. So
Mine
that
too.
means
Okay.
I have a hard time in relationships when I know, which is so dumb. Anyway, it's so dumb. It's fine. But it also has like
Same.
it has little cutoffs, which all those little cutoffs mean something as well, which is something I don't have all of the knowledge of. But
Mm-hmm.
because mine
Well,
starts where it does.
I'm gonna need you to get the knowledge because I also have a bunch of little cutoffs that I need to know. Mine also like wise out. Like it starts underneath my middle finger, but I have two lines that branch off of it that go toward my pointer finger, and one that branches off and goes towards my ring finger. So,
Yeah, so those are breaks. So
oh,
that could mean some good love.
ah, okay, all
Mhm.
right, okay.
So
One goes
I
toward
think
my ring finger, marriage.
yes. So mine, I also have that break too. So I'm assuming that could mean that as well, which is really interesting. But that's what your heart line is, or your love line. Now we're going to go next to the headline, which the headline
Nice.
is the first one under. So that's going to be this one right here.
Okay.
It's going to be the second one under the first one under the heart line, which is your headline. Obviously mine is really teeny tiny. And this indicates like intellectual pursuits, like lessons that you're learning in life. This is you going through your life, your struggles, and how you're going to interact with those. So if it's a very straight line with no curves, that means it is a very straightforward thing for you. Like you're going to get through life very quickly, very easily in those sense. Correct. Mine
Nope.
is not that.
Mine
No,
either.
not even close.
Mine
um,
like it goes whoop, whoop, like straight down, just whoop, like
yeah, mine is not. Now if it's starting to curve a little bit and gives a little bit of depth,
yep.
depth. Okay, there it is. Then the line shows a little bit more sophistication with it, but it's not going to
Ooh.
be very easy breezy, beautiful cover girl.
Well, you know what?
Um,
I'm smart though, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, if it's like super wavy, like if it's really just like you have a lot of little lumps and curves into it, that can mean that you usually will go against the norm. So that is how you would usually deal with your pursuits and lessons in life. And then if there's big breaks in the middle of the line where they kind of separate and come back together, that means there's a lot of happy surprises and that could denote your mental woes.
Mm. Well, I just got one that goes down, like it goes.
Mine goes like this. Like mine is very like in out and makes like little circles.
So does that mean that yours is gonna be like the woes?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Denote mental woes and happy surprises. So
Oh,
that
okay.
means I'm supposed to have like some
Ups
kind
and
of
downs.
yeah, a lot. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
Mine just said I got sophistication, but it ain't gonna be easy. But I'm smart. So.
But you're smart.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then lifeline. So that is going to be the one that's under the headline. So we're just going straight down. So it goes heartline, headline, and then your lifeline. So this is going to denote a couple different things because it doesn't necessarily like foretell mortality. It's more deeper than that. It's more about like what you could avoid in your mortality, which is really interesting. But the deeper the line is, the more that person will likely have a rewarding experience. So mine's like decently deep, but mine's not like in my hand, like through my blood veins.
Oh, you mean like deep going down? I thought you meant deep like coming this way.
No, deep as in like deep going into your hand.
I mean, I really can't tell if it would be considered deep or not unless I saw someone else's. So like, but I mean, I feel like it's pretty deep. I mean, it's about the same depth as it starts off.
Here's my thing. Now, if this is how I can tell if it's deep or not. So what I do is I kind of crush my hand like this, and I can see that my love line, my heart line, is very deep.
Yeah.
My lifeline though isn't that deep.
Yeah. My lifeline isn't as deep as the other two, but I mean, I would still say it's deep-ish. I mean, it's noticeable, you know?
Right.
I think. Can you tell?
No.
You can't tell?
I think it's like decently deep. Like I don't think it's like
it's deeper up here at the top.
Yeah.
But like then when it gets down, it's not as deep.
Well, and in this part where it's like starting, this is an angle of dexterity. We're not going to talk about that today, but that means something else. So like when I literally tell you it's very detailed, we're just doing the general right now.
It's like astrology. It's like that's what I keep on like thinking of is like how people are always like, I'm just like I'm an Aries. Well, okay, that's like your sun sign, but like what else you got going on? You know, like in ancient astrology, they didn't tell people, oh, I'm an Aries if that was what your sun sign was. They told you said I'm an Aries if that's what your rising sign was, and then it's changed over the years. So like so that's what this makes me think of is like with the more detail you give, the more I'm like, this is a lot like astrology and how like there's a lot to unpack there that people very rarely unpack. So
it's so interesting. And that's why it's like, okay, with the lifeline, it's more dependent on how deep it is rather than how long or how short. But there is also some details with that of how long or how short it is. So mine is decently long.
Mine too.
Which is not necessarily any indicator of like longevity of life. It's just like you're gonna be like more able to you're gonna live through doom. So like when you have shit things happening to you in your life, you're gonna be able to get through that, but you're not gonna see it coming. Now, if your line is shorter, you're gonna be able to see it coming.
Oh.
It's interesting. But I also don't know if I agree with that just from like my life experience, because I feel like I usually can sense or like feel some type of way before something's happening. And I mean, that makes all the difference. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay. And then the last two lines that we're going to talk about the fate line. The fate line is the line that goes literally straight up through your palm. It might be a little leaning or a little curvy, but that is another thick line that is going to go through your palm. And what the fate line determines is what degree of people influence a person's life and choices. So pretty much how you take in information from people. If the line is vertical in the center of the palm, you're usually decently good at that. You usually take in information very quickly from other people.
Okay.
But sometimes it changes within like your life. So sometimes like the line gets shorter or older depending on like what's going on in your life, which I think is kind of interesting and kind of gives that free will, aspect that we talk a lot about. And how different things can like impact your life. But it does also look at it like, significant events. So like if something like like mine is going straight through my headline. So that means like how I deal with that is going to be really different from how other people do it that have maybe a shorter line in the middle. And then some people have it go all the way up like to one of their mounds. So like that could mean something different. And again, that's very detailed information that I have not mastered in the 40 minutes that I took notes and read this book.
Yeah. Mine is very vertical and just it goes all the way up and it ends at my headline.
See, yeah, it's very interesting. So like mine goes through it, yours stops. Like that's really interesting.
Yeah, like literally, I wish you could see it. It literally starts right here and just goes boop and stops right at my headline.
Yeah.
And it's
so
not
like,
very long either. It's got some branches out of it or breaks out of it, if that's the same thing there. But it for the most part, it just goes right up and stops there. So I guess that means that I retain information from people very well, which is surprising to me considering that I have ADHD that was undiagnosed all the way through high school and college, where I could retain practically no information.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So like it's very dependent on the person. And I think it's just interesting. Just the background knowledge of it is really cool.
I will say that one of the biggest compliments that I get in my career, though, is that everyone tells me that I am just like a sponge, that I'm just there ready to like soak up knowledge. And that when I soak it up, I never let it go. And I was like, I appreciate that. And I've gotten that so many times where people are like, I don't understand. They're like, it's like I tell you something one time and then the next time I check back in with you, you've mastered the one thing I told you once. Like you've taken it and ran with it. And I'm like, well, like I like to learn. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. And like I said, like it's like astrology in the sense of like you have your own free will in this world. Like you guys do whatever you want to do. But this is just, one way people look at life, and this is how they mapped out what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or they're coping of like, what does this mean? What does that mean? Kind of thing. And I think it's just a really interesting way. Now, the last line I'm going to talk about, the last one is the relationship lines, which I feel like everyone is like, yeah, I want to see that. Why don't we talk about that first?
Life. Tell me, who am I going to end up with? That's something. Getting tarot readings always. People are like, tell me about my love life. What's going to happen in my love life?
And it's really interesting because like this is going to show you how many relationships you'll be in and how long they'll last in a sense. So
okay, I want to know too. Hold up. Now.
It's interesting. It's interesting. And the more lines, it's more relationships. The longer the line is the impact of the relationship. So if you hold your hand straight up, okay, if you're looking at these lines right here on the side, you can see how many lines you have and how many relationships / impactful relationships you're going to have. So like for me, if you are watching us, you can kind of see me staring at my own hand here, but I have 4. I have 3 deep ones and 1 very short one, but it's still deep. So that means it's impactful.
So are we just talking about the ones like at the top of the hand? Because I have them going all the way down my hand.
It's literally the ones that are sitting in between your like life relationship line and your like top of your pinky finger.
Wait, wait. So your love line and your pinky finger. That's how many we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, get the fuck out of my face.
Why? What did I do?
Get away from me. I have 1.
Well, one
line.
One deep and impactful relationship.
You know how many relationships, like official, real relationships with men that I've been in my life? 1.
That's tea. But listen.
No,
Linda.
you listen.
Listen, Linda.
I have always wondered. Why is it like? Because I have such terrible luck with men. Gabby, we've talked about this so many times. Because just being a gay man in the South, I have gotten like played by guys. Do you know how often it is that like straight men will be like, yeah, I'm straight, but I'm cool with gay men and I'm really cool with you. And like, will try to do shit with me or how many, you know what I'm saying? Like literally, getting played by dudes, getting friend zoned by dudes who would lead me on and then friend zone me. And then literally like the man I love dying. Which I don't think we've talked about on the podcast. But
no, you really just put that bomb.
I did. So wow. Anyways, and I got 1 literally terrible luck with men.
But listen. Listen. This I think is interesting because let me tell you why. Because palmistry can change. Your stuff can change. You're a growing being. You have free will. You do whatever you want in your life. Now, this is a suggestion. It's a second opinion from the doctor.
Okay.
Think of it that way. It's not set in stone. Like, it's not like, oh, people might believe it is, but it's all up to you of what you think it is and what you think it's not. Also, though, like, if you think about it, your palm could be reflecting a relationship that you haven't even had yet, but you think it's a different relationship because that's the only one you've had.
Yeah, no, I get that. And well, also, here's something that I do want to point out too. I know that I just got all like, "Are you fucking serious?" Which I am still like that. But I do want to point out two things. One is that the reason why I'm saying that that relationship is like I've only been in one real official relationship. That relationship was very, very impactful for me. It was a terrible relationship. I mean, I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Most of the situationships I've been in have been in terrible situationships because of me also. You know what I'm saying? Like now my ex was, I've talked about it a few times on here. He was not a good boyfriend and he would have even told you that. However, he was not the only person in the wrong. You know, like there were things that I did that were not okay. And I can sit here and walk through it. I can maybe we one day for a relationship. You know, I'm dealing with long-term trauma from a breakup. Who knows? But I learned a lot from him, and he was my like first official boyfriend ever, and I learned a lot from him, and I'm grateful for all the things that I learned from him, and I'm grateful for the experience that I had with him. And I'm ashamed at how long I allowed myself to stay in that relationship, but I feel like it was necessary for all the things I needed to learn, because since then I have seen moments where I would have before that allowed myself to be in a bad situation or reacted a certain way or something like that. And I didn't, specifically because I was in that relationship and had that experience. The next thing I want to say is that, well, actually, to go back to that. So I've always said that because of how, like, when you love someone, it changes you. Like you become a different human. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something different about having like that love for somebody. And so I've always said that whenever I get ready to settle down with someone, I want it to be someone who there's that like simple, just like relationship with, because you always see like, especially in media, you always have like those people that are like, like I started dating this guy because he was safe and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And like, and he's great and he's awesome. Like, honestly, Black Mirror, this new season of Black Mirror just had something similar to this. So, but where people will be like, I, dated him because he was safe and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. But I just can't like forget my ex who the relationship was terrible with, but we had this like passion and great sex and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And like, one, I'm a firm believer in you can have passion and a simple relationship, but also like after seeing how toxic love can become, I'm like, no, I would prefer the simple relationship. So maybe that's also what this could be showing, is like that one deep, impactful relationship that showed me so much is the one I was meant to have so that I could have simple relationships moving forward, because since then I have had the opportunity to interact with, talk with, get to know like guys in a much simpler way. Like I've been on dates with guys before where in the very beginning I realized, you know what, no, this isn't for me. And I was able to stop it very quickly. Or I would be, that like as like getting to know this guy and things just weren't progressing the way that I wanted them to. And then something would happen later on where I'm like, well, I'm grateful it didn't, and I was able to walk away and I was able to leave it be. And I'm able to now not allow my Pisces Venus dictate how I treat and allow myself to be treated, because like, I mean, it was bad for a while. Like I literally was a senior who got played by a freshman at one point because like in college, because of how desperate I was for love, So you know what, it's okay. And I was just thinking the other day, this was the second thing that maybe my point in life, maybe my like purpose in this life, because I believe in reincarnation and everything, maybe the universe just wants me to live a life happy, fulfilled without being in a relationship. Like maybe the universe wants me to be single. And because the lesson I'm meant to learn in this life is how to be single and live a happy and fulfilled life. And I think I'm doing really well at that. Like me a year ago, wouldn't have been okay with the idea of staying single forever. But me now in the present is okay with me staying single forever. Like I'm perfectly fine with it. I would love a relationship, but I'm cool with like if I'm fulfilled, I'm happy. I have a good career, I have good friends, I've got family members that I've gotten back close to. I have a roof over my head, shoes on my feet, and I have amazing things happening for me. So a relationship isn't going to dictate that. So anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to take your show for a second, but I did just want to point that out. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. It's interesting how, and we'll probably have to do an episode on like love and like that regard and like long-term stuff, because I think it's really interesting when you get in a relationship with someone and you can't let go of them. That is something that like you have to learn on your own, and like really, you know, and it's one of those things where you kind of struggle, like, because love is very like, it's interesting because it's not this like, there's not real substance to love. Like there's not like something that's like, okay, sticker, I'm in love. That's my heart, and that emotions and all of this is like
subjective.
All in, you know, it's all subjective, it's all mental health, it's all like so many things, and you know, you just, how you react to it is what's interesting, and how that drives a lot of decision making as well. You know, and I know we've talked about that, you know, I have a boyfriend and all that stuff, but like, you know, before him, like I definitely struggled with love, and I definitely wanted things that, you know, my partners at the time didn't want, and that's okay. But I had to learn, and I had to mess up, and I had to feel like they did not like me so I could leave, and that's just how I figured it out. So I think it is interesting, and with palmistry, like again, that was 5%, like just those lines is 5% of the whole picture. So, you know, mind you, with, you know, the topics that we talk about within palmistry, and, you know, obviously in our love lives and just continuation of life in any type of way, it's one of those things where you learn every single day. You have free will, and you do whatever you think is best for you, but make sure it's safe and that you're not in physical harm's way, or mental harm's way. That definitely affects you. So, but that is palmistry in 5 lines. Now, if you guys do want me to go on and talk about palmistry more in depth, I'd be more than happy to do that. But you do just comment, let me know, because we do have like a million other things that we could talk about within this, which is really cool.
Definitely. We could also do a mini series or something, since that's something we're kind of starting to branch into. You could do a mini series where it's just you talking about palmistry and like walking through the book and things like that, and like doing research each week and, you know, doing your thing. So if that's something that people would be interested in.
Could be fun. Yeah, let me know.
I think that'd be
or
really
if there's
great.
A different topic, you know, let us know.
I said that'd be a really great cool. That'd be a really great thing. Like I think that'd be really cool. Yeah, that'd be really great cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, that was awesome. Thank you, Gabby, for doing that. That was really cool, and definitely very informative. Even though that was just the basics, like I've never, like, out of all the times that people have been like, "Let me see your palm," I have never, like, I remember one time someone told me this is interesting to me, and I immediately thought about it whenever you said it earlier with the love line. They're like, you start from this side and work your way in, and like it shows you blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, and I was like, I guess that's kind of cool, and then you just explained it today, and I was like, see, what you said made a lot more sense. So, you know, like,
well,
and you were
know,
going to start your way.
Too. And here's the thing too with palmistry. It, like I said, like 5% of the pie is all we talked about. Like it goes as little as your fingerprint ridges.
Ooh, okay.
Like
we need to do this. We need to do this.
Look, let me show you a picture just for reference, so everyone knows I'm not making this up, because it's insane. Hold on, I gotta find it now. Like, look, like loop of memory. Like it's like as detailed as like.
Why does the loop of memory sound like a fantasy land? You know what I'm talking about? Like in a book. Like I can just imagine like the found family group with all different types of skill sets and powers. They have to go to the loop of memory to go like rescue their one member or whatever. Like.
Like, listen to this. This one's a short one, actually. So this endows the owner with a good memory. It's handy for professions like sales and teaching, where people need to remember many names and details.
Ooh.
I don't know if I have that. Anyway, it's also useful for any job that requires remembering facts, and one that comes to mind is palmistry.
Wow.
That's scary, because I randomly flipped to that page.
I would love to, like, learn about that too, because I have to do that a lot in my career. So I'd like to say what my like loop of memory says. So that's
I
really
10
cool.
out of 10 recommend this book. I got mine at Barnes and Noble, but I know it's on Amazon. It's like barely $20. Like it is a good steal deal. And actually these authors, they do like a series of books. Like I have one on actually the next topic we're talking about, which I'll let Sam introduce, but also like intuition and
Nice.
auras and stuff. So they're a really good source that I feel like I've connected a lot with, and it makes sense. So if you're into that, please, 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 like look them up. They're called In Focus, and then it changes within, this one says palmistry, but on the title page, and then says your personal guide, and it really just, pushes you through, and it's a bunch of different authors that really put some good info together. So I 10 out of 10 recommend that.
That's awesome. Now, I know you talked a little bit at the beginning, so I'm imagining so, but I just want to ask, does it talk about the history of each of the crafts a little bit in each book?
Yep. So it usually starts with like a history lesson. It's very short, depending on, how long, like this one's like 2 pages, 3 pages. But then it goes into the details. So like with palmistry, it was like the appearance of your hand. You're like, oh, that's important. Like, yeah. And then they break it down in every section.
You have left hands.
Yeah. Like literally, like very, very precise, gives visuals, like very interesting. And I'm looking forward to, getting a different one. I still am looking in the auras one, just because I know a lot about auras, but I would like some kind of textbook knowledge on it. And I think I'm going to look into theirs for sure.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you, Gabby. I appreciate you sharing that and getting that information together today.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thanks. But what's your topic, Samuel?
Oh my God. How nice of you to ask. Thank you so much. So my topic for today is actually tarot cards. And so Gabby, I do want to point out that you and I all have done this for every single Weird Wednesday, so I'm excited to see if it continues. Since Sid is going to be hopping in on some Weird Wednesdays and stuff, and we're going to mess up the order a little bit, I kind of want to see if it keeps going and like keeps happening. But there were so many things that you said about palmistry that the same thing rings true for tarot, like its background and connection to astrology and things like that. Yeah. So, but without further ado, I'll hop into it. Mine is more of a historical background on tarot and the history of it rather than how to do it. But I do want us to have a little discussion at the end to talk about how we read, because I know that you read Oracle, and I do talk a little bit about Oracle too, and how and its history as well. So, but without further ado, I'll hop into it. So, I'm gonna move my phone directly. I'm gonna move my phone to right here. You keep the enhanced sticker.
Oh my God, it's so cute. I want one.
Do you not have these? I thought I sent you some.
When did you send them?
Oh my God, it would have been a while back, but I'll send you some. I actually have a surprise coming your way. The reason why I asked for everybody's mailing address.
I was wondering, because I was like, maybe he's sending us stickers. Maybe.
Actually, I wasn't, but now I will.
Well, it sounds like you're sending me some stickers.
I'm sending you something and some stickers now, but
oh my God, wait, I'm so nervous. Is it cute?
It is. Sid knows what it is. I ruined it for her. Do you want me to tell you? I'll tell you. Do you want me to tell you? I'll tell you here on Weird Wednesday.
Well, wait, do you want me to be surprised? Do you want me to film my reaction?
You're still going to be surprised even if I tell you what it is, because you're not knowing what they look like. So.
Okay, what is it?
I'm making us all unique business cards.
Oh, I knew it.
Yeah, and each of our business cards, which you're still going to be surprised, so it's okay if I tell you, but each of our business cards are going to have a different color scheme from the enhanced colors.
I love that. Yeah, that is going to be so fun. Guys,
I don't know why I keep doing the T-Rex arms.
You are reminding me of those 2 drag queens. Oh my God. I'm blinking out, but they're so cute. And one's
Nope.
No,
literally know 2.
Does not do that. It's okay. They do this, and one's like super like pink and girly, and the other one's like girly but like blacks and like darks. Oh my God, it's literally in my brain. I literally just watched their season on Drag Race.
I'm gonna be 1,000% honest with you. There's like 2 drag queens that are famous that I know.
And they are?
RuPaul
Basic.
and Trixie Mattel.
Trixie
Yeah.
Mattel.
Yeah.
Like
Mattel.
her knee? Patella? Oh my god. If you guys didn't see that, he just slapped his knee. I'm so upset.
Anyways,
Okay, listen,
and then
that was
also I
great.
follow a Canadian drag queen who teaches math and taxes and like things like that that you need to know as an adult that high school doesn't teach you. And she also teaches really cool history about drag and transsexuality and things like that. She's really cool. I wish I could remember her name right now, and I honestly don't even know her name. She's
I don't remember anyone's name at this point. Maybe that's why my palm is so messed up and I don't remember anything.
you know, your loop of memory. You need to travel to the loop of memory and rescue whoever it is from your found family fantasy novel. And
yeah, I don't even think I have that one,
sorry.
honestly. Anyways,
Jesus
back
Christ.
to Tara.
Sorry, I was being extra and I was trying to take a screenshot of us talking because I've been doing that as you've been telling your story. And I accidentally hit a wrong button. But anyways.
Wow, rude.
I know. It's okay.
You're gonna take pictures of me and not tell me, Sam?
Well, you were in the middle of talking and I wanted you to be all, you know, I don't know, surprised, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna get into the tarot stuff now, but my phone's gonna be right here because it's what my notes are on. So
go off.
Anyways. All right, so the earliest references to tarot cards that we have to date is between the 1440s and 1450s. But it did start as a game in Italy. And because of how complex the rules to the games are in the earliest documentations that we have, it is suspected that the game would have at least been already being played or developed earlier in the century. So it wasn't just like, you know what, let's write down these really complicated rules to this game right now. And there we go. There it is. Right. Like they would have been playing it for a while before that. So I'm just going to read this directly from now. The sources that I use for this, I'll just give you, since Gabby told her sources like an amazing person. I used metmuseum.org, Wikipedia, of course, Astral Wellness Tours, and happypiranha.com. So I'm going to be reading directly from what they wrote at different points because they just wrote it so well. So why not? But yeah, so because the earliest documentation of the game had such complex rules, it probably had developed earlier in the century before the actual documentation was written. Tarot cards employed the standard Italian suits with values from 10 to 1 and with 4 face cards, king, queen, knight, and knave, for a total of 56 cards. Alongside them were the fool, which was used as a wild card, and 21 trump cards. And so later on, which I say this at some point in my notes too, so I'll probably repeat it, but that's what today, if you know anything about tarot, that's what the like the difference between the major arcana, it was the major arcana and the minor arcana. The minor arcana are your suits with the different like numbers from 1 to 10 up into the king, queen, knight, and it says knave, but different decks, like the deck that I have that I'm going to show some examples of, has prince and princess. Some of them have knight and what's the other one they have? Doesn't matter. King, queen, knight, and there's a fourth one, but it's not knave. But yeah, so that's it would be split up in between the two arcanas that way. But one of the tarot games is described as, so this is what kind of confused me, but it says it's tarocchini, which is the plural of one of the games that were played with tarot. But yeah, but it says that they were like point trick taking games that were used with the individual cards. So it was developed, they were all developed around the same time as like what our normal like playing cards were developed, which have 52 cards in them, if I'm not mistaken. And so yeah, so it was developed around the same time. So that's why there's a lot of similarities. If you look at tarot cards in the minor arcana, there are similarities. And that's why also in your tarot decks, there's also jokers. Sometimes those are like your wild cards given in in like a normal like playing deck of cards. Right. That would have been like the fool and going into like the major arcana and things like that. So you can see kind of similarities between their development, but they were still very.
What was the game called again? The chair.
Tarocchini. So it's spelled, yeah. So that is the plural form.
That sounds like a martini drink.
I would drink.
Sorry.
I mean, look.
This is where my brain's at. I'm like, wedding, martinis, let's go.
You want to bring some alcohol to Weird Wednesday? Weird Wednesday? But
literally it.
You know, there was this funny meme that I saw one time that was talking about, it was a Monday in this like corporate office, and somebody was shaking up their like morning like protein shake, and they had one of those bottles that had the like wire ball in it that like shakes things up really well. And it was saying that somebody started shaking up their like shake, and that this woman that was in her like mid-30s was like, "Do I hear margaritas?" Like and the person who wrote the meme was like,
heck?
The person that wrote the meme was like, "No, Rachel, you are an alcoholic. It's 10 a.m. on a Monday. Stop." Like,
that would be me. Oh my God. You're going to tell me right now that if someone was going shaky, shaky, shake, that I'm not going to be like, alcohol?
Margaritas? Like,
Margaritas?
There is this Mexican restaurant in Clanton, Alabama, and that's something that I want to say you'll know because you went to college in the South. There's one thing that Southern people, especially Southern people in really small towns, love more than anything in this world, and it's A, Mexican food, B, Chinese food, or some type of like Asian food that's a very like general Asian food that you don't really know what part of Asia it's from except for India. You know there's nothing from India there. Right. So but there's this really good Mexican restaurant in my hometown that they have amazing margaritas. Do you understand me? They are so good, and they're not that expensive. I literally one time was like, yeah, I'll get a medium. I had to sit in my car for like a good 2 hours before I was like comfortable driving. And I live 5 minutes from the restaurant. But I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna I'll get like a medium. It'll be like, I'm used to these like city drinks. You know what I'm saying? Where you pay it, you get a medium and you're paying $10 for a medium, and it's like this big, like that big. No, these bitches come out in like almost a bowl. And they're like $6 or $7.
Yeah. Love that for you. I love that for you. I mean, you'll catch me at a nice Mexican restaurant anytime. Hashtag Mexican food. Hashtag chimichanga. Hashtag pico de gallo.
Hashtag make it authentic. Hashtag margaritas. Hashtag margaritas. Hashtag strong margaritas.
Hashtag sugar on the rim.
Hashtag don't drink and drive.
Hashtag be safe.
Hashtag add some salt. Anyways.
Jesus.
All right.
Christ.
But yeah. Anyways, tarocchini is the plural form of the word. Honestly, could not tell you what the single form of the word, but tarocchini are just games that you play with tarot cards. I want to say it's one type of game that you play, like a group of games that you play with tarot card. I think there are more than just tarocchini, but this is stuff that I read in probably like a 3 hours worth of research and then went back and revised. So I am not a master by any point in any means. I'll try to put the link to the sources in the show notes. That way you can go read them yourself if you want to learn more. But yeah, so okay, this is a fun fact. And also a little wink at a place that Gabby and I know very well, not because we've been there, but because because of Spring Hill College. So in a little place called Bologna, Italy, and yeah, it's spelt like Bologna, but it's Bologna. It has been like, it's an area, so the area that is in Bologna that still plays different tarocchini. It's been kind of confined for years, like the game itself or the games themselves had been. And in this area, the card pack was taken from 78 cards. So that's the major arcana with the minor arcana. And when I say major arcana, that's looping in the Fool, which would have been the wild card, because in modern tarot divination, the Fool is considered like a part of the major arcana. So it was taken from 78 cards to 62 cards. So they still play tarocchini with the 62 cards, and this was probably developed and occurred in the 16th century is when they started playing it this different way with the 62 cards instead. And then the 21 trump cards that I talked about from like the traditional like different types of tarot games, This was probably added somewhere else in Europe at a later date. Well, I won't say probably. It's speculated that it may have been added at a later date or at a different time at a different place in Europe. So not just necessarily Italy, but it would have been still continued throughout Italy. There are 3 luxury tarot decks that have survived from the mid 15th century. One of the decks, I'm going to read this word for word because there are a lot of words in here that's going to be very hard for me to pronounce, and I want to make sure I'm looking at them and give it my best college try. You know what I'm saying? So 3 luxury tarot decks have survived from the mid 15th century. One of the decks is thought to have been made for Filippo. There we go. Filippo Maria. Filippo Maria Visconti, the last Duke of Milan, of that name. Prior to his death in 1447, this is known as the Visconti Tarot, and it only has 69 surviving cards, which are held at Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Pretty cool, right? So there's like an original tarot deck. And also I did look at some pictures that looks very different than modern tarot, which we'll get into. But another one of the decks was more than likely made for Francesco Sforza, a mercenary commander who served in both Milan and Venice and married the only child of Filippo Maria Visconti. And so then the third surviving deck is known as the Brembia deck, after a former owner, and was almost certainly painted for Visconti before his death in 1447, and can be found at the Pinacoteca.
Let's try that again. Let's try that again.
The found at the I practiced this so much. I don't want people to think I didn't practice this. I tried so hard. I looked up how to pronounce it, but the Pinacoteca di Brera, Milan. All 3 decks are attributed to the workshop of Milan court painter Dang, okay.
You got it. I believe in you.
Bonifacio Bimbo, which also love Bimbo, but I'm probably pronouncing it wrong because I'm white.
You're like throwing your own self under the. I'm white.
I am. Look.
Did
I need to tell this story sometime. Maybe I need to do it on a different. Maybe we should like have an episode about heritage or something like that, because I did a 23andMe test because my dad.
We need the full in depth of that.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah. But to give you a summary, my dad told me that we would have, which apparently genetics you can't trust when it comes to like your family line. Like you can't, whenever you get your genes tested and stuff like that, to see what type of people you are from, you're descended from. Apparently different people can end up with different genes, so well, obviously, but like different people, like 2 siblings that have the same parents that were born like at different times, can have a completely different, like when it comes to regional ethnical like gene setup, can have 2 completely different kinds, and they both have the same exact parents. So that's also why like a lot of indigenous tribes that are like organized tribes and things like that today, you can't get a blood test or a DNA test and prove that you're a member, like that you should be a member of that tribe. You still have to have like the documentation to show that you were descended from them. But anyway, whenever I did my test, my dad told me that we had tons of different things that run in my family, like Persian, Native American. He even said that we have Mongolian too. And my 23andMe came back white. I mean, like white. You know what I'm saying?
I think that was my favorite time to see you upset. Not in like a mean way, but it was just so humorous.
Okay. Well, see, the thing is that my whole life, because I'm technically like an only child. I'm not an only child, but technically, because I'm the only child that has my mom and my dad. So my dad had 3 kids before he met my mom. My mom had 2 kids before she met my dad, and then my mom adopted kids years later. And so I did not. I don't look. I mean, I look like my dad, and I even look like my mom, and I favor my dad's kids, but they're all dark skin, olive skin, either olive to like tan skin. They have the high cheekbones, the pointed eyes. They have what's it called? Yeah, the like point. You know, folded. That's it. Like You know what I'm talking about. So those that like kind of slant down like this, which I also have, but they kind of point down like this, and they like either look indigenous or they could pass as like, you know, having some type, like whenever he says Mongolian, I'm like, makes sense. And so that's why I was like, oh, that's where I got this from. And the high cheekbones that I have are from being indigenous. But I'm very white. I even have a pink pigment to my skin. Like I have a very red pigment in my skin, naturally red. Like people sometimes will be like, wow, you're a little sunburned. And I'm like, no, I'm just me. That's just my face, you know?
Just red.
Yeah.
Just
So
white.
I just wanted to check because I was like, I really need, like, I'm very, like, which my mom is very white, like nothing but Irish on her side of the family, like Irish and Scottish. That's it. And so, and Welsh. And so, I just wanted to check, and
here we are. Here we are.
Yeah, there were white, little bit of indigenous, and a tiny bit of Indian, and when I say Indian, I mean actual, like from India, Indian, and African. Tiny, little bit.
You got some spice.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is, like, I thought I was at least spicy white, but no, I'm just fucking white. Because, like, I also, like, cook good. That's the thing is, like, I know how to season some food. And, like, my dad knew how to season some food. My mom's decent at seasoning food. So I was like, we got it from somewhere. Like, we, you know, like, salt, pepper, who? We don't do all that shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, we have all kinds of seasoning in our food and stuff like that. And, like, I mean, I grew up in the South, and a lot of people in the South know how to cook well, too. But, like, it's still a lot of, like, salt and pepper, you know? And I was like, surely we got something passed down from the generation to generation that taught us how to cook well.
Nope, apparently not.
It's salt and pepper. It's salt and pepper for days.
Salt, pepper.
Ain't even pepper. Just salt. Just salt for days.
You're fine.
Anyways,
You got some Tonys?
You know what I do love? Freaking. I always keep a bottle in my house. Chunchula sauce.
I knew you were gonna say that. I feel it, but I'm gonna say it.
What?
I'm gonna say it.
What?
You're not the only white person I know that does that.
Rip my freaking.
I was like, I don't want to be like that. I mean, I'm kind of white. I mean, Middle Easterners. I mean, we're like tan, but we're not like anything crazy. But like, you know, Lebanese and Israeli. You know, I mean, we're white too. We're just Arab white.
See, I know you and I've had discussions about that before, and I will get back on the topic very soon, I promise. But you and I have had discussions about that before, where I'm like, would you? And you know, you and I have always had these discussions in very like educational ways, not like in a like, what are you kind of way. Right. But I've asked you before, like, would you consider yourself white? And you were like, well, it depends. American white, no. Like, but to the rest of the world, maybe. Like,
well, and it's a thing. So and I kind of talk about it in season 1 with Tyler, where we're talking about culture and things like that. Like, you really, as a first generation American, which I am, you very much have to pick and choose when you're what, you know. And I know a lot of people in, you know, the Black community feel the same way, you know, light skin versus like dark skin and all the mediums in between. Like, are you, like, for me, it's like, are you white today or are you an Arab today? Like, to my family, I'm American, I'm white. But like, to everyone in America, I am Arab. So it's like, where am I? Where do I sit on this scale? So, I mean, again, that's something we can definitely touch base on a later date. But yeah, it's definitely a very prevalent thing in my life. So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, well, I'll get back on the tarot, but I do want us to have more conversations about that because I think I think we should do a deep dive and really have a deep discussion on it one day. Absolutely. Maybe we can this season. Maybe we'll choose one that to be one of the topics. Keep an eye out. I don't know why I did that.
You just went like, what is happening? Are we okay?
Anyways, no. No, we're not.
Mentally unstable, brother. All right, keep going on your tarot journey.
All right. Let me see. Where was I? Known for divination. Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. So the first deck known for divination, however, was created in 1909, and it's known as the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And it was a collaboration between Arthur Waite and Pamela Coleman Smith. Though her name has been largely excluded, Smith's artistic talents were very exceptional, and she also illustrated manuscripts for a variety of famous authors and poets of her time. And so her art is what's on the tarot deck
Oh,
that
wow.
I would say arguably is like the most common today when it comes for divination. It's that very traditional tarot deck
With
that
the yellow background and the
mhm,
yeah.
yep. And so yeah, but now Smith was the first modern artist to incorporate human figures into the minor arcana cards, which is really cool. She based her illustrations largely on the Sola Busca tarot deck, which was on display at the British Museum at the time. And some people still play the tarot game and in the tarot games, and there are minor variations between like how people play and where they play, but it's still typically, for the most part, still kind of like that trick, like taking kind of like game.
Yeah.
And it's safe to say that in America, though, it's mainly known as known for divination. Now, this for the divination side of it, this started with early French occultists claiming that tarot cards had esoteric links to, and I quote because this is the list, and this is where I was saying that there were a lot of similarities between like palmistry and like the background that comes with tarot. So these occultists were claiming that it had links to ancient Egypt, the Kabbalah, Indic Tantra,
Mm.
which I talked a little bit about Tantra in one of the Weird Wednesdays for last season. It was the chakra and astrology episode. And the Chinese divination book, which the title translates to Book of Changes in English.
Mm.
Um, these claims that have been frequently repeated by authors on, or these claims have been frequently repeated by authors on divination, but the simple fact is that it's just not the case. Like it started off as just a card game. It wasn't until the 18th century that a Frenchman named Jean-Baptiste Alliette wrote a book linking tarot cards to divination. He assigned meaning to each card, leaning on astronomy and the elements, as well as taking inspiration from the Egyptian Book of Thoth. He also assigned a specific order and a spread to the cards that continue to be used today. Now, scholarly research, and I'm going to quote this one a lot because this is just how they said it. I was like, well, this is like yeah. So scholarly research confirmed that there is no historical evidence of any use of tarot cards for divination until the late 18th century. Historians have described Western views of the tarot pack as the subject of the most successful propaganda campaign ever launched, an entire false history and false interpretation of the tarot pack was concocted by the occultists, and it is all but universally believed.
I want to like punch people in the throat. Like that's how with that last part, that's what made I was like, look, like this is part of people's like spiritual journey. Like
Mhm.
you can't discount a spiritual journey. Like
Yeah.
you can disagree with it. Okay, I get that. But like,
Mhm.
come on, people.
Well, so I have very like I personally, for me, I agree wholeheartedly with the scholarly research. I don't think it's cool whenever occultists, because as we've seen throughout our Weird Wednesday research, 18th, the 19th, and like 18th, and well, like 1800, 1900s, occultists are sort of the to blame for everything that we
Yeah.
see as like spiritual today, like how they whitewashed chakras, how they whitewashed astrology, how they have claimed that a card game is, you know what I'm saying? So, but however, I do have a sort of little thing that I want to wrap it up with that will make us happy, I think. But I'm almost to the end. So by the 1900s, tarot became popular in the United States. With the creation of the Rider-Waite deck in 1909, Americans were primed to purchase the deck made. Um, oh, Americans were primed to purchase, and the deck made the leap across the Atlantic to become the most popular tarot reading option. And so, also around this time, oracle cards were becoming popular, and oracle cards are because Gabby reads Oracle, I read Tarot. I read Oracle sometimes, but I'm actually the one who, I hope Gabby's cool with me saying this, which I think we've talked about before. I'm the one who taught Gabby how to read, and which is not really even like a teaching you how to read. It's more of just like teaching you how to become comfortable reading the cards. And so,
Yeah.
like, how to listen to your cards, how it's going to feel different when you're using your intuition to listen rather than your ears to listen. And so, Oracle cards and tarot cards are different in the simple basis that with a tarot card deck, you've got your traditional 78 cards. In Oracle card decks, it can be anything at all. It can be a random, like any topic, any number of cards. The cards can have anything on them, but they're both used for divination. So, like one of Gabby's decks, which I think is like still your primary deck, is a deck that I got her whenever we were in college, and it's
Yeah.
has goddesses on it, just
And it's
all goddesses
from different faiths. So like,
Mhm.
Virgin Mary to, like old Mayan, Inca, gods and goddesses.
Mhm.
It's very, I mean, very cool. And it's cool when you sit with them and try to, listen and figure out what's going on with someone. It's very fun.
Exactly. So yeah, but with your tarot deck, which I do have a deck that I'm going to kind of show some of here in a little bit, but with tarot decks it's all same. Every single deck is going to have the same exact cards in it. However, there are different art styles, different artists, different kind of interpretations of the cards that you'll have in a book or like in the guidebook. There are like I said, there were differences earlier where some of them have prince and princess, some of them have knight, and why can I not think of what the fourth one is? I guess because my primary deck is the one that uses like Prince and Princess, but I have a deck that I use a lot of too. That it's the Knight and oh well. So, anyways,
Oh,
but
oopsies.
but yeah, that's the main difference between Oracle and Tarot. And so Oracle cards can be traced back to the 19th century in France, where the first deck is said to have been developed by Madame Lenormand. Okay.
Nice.
And then now to wrap up that part, I like this quote, which is what I was kind of talking about a little bit ago. It's by the Asheville Wellness Tour site, and it says it's important to remember that the tarot cards aren't designed to tell your fortune. Despite their occasional historical links to carnivals and fortune tellers, tarot cards are best for tapping into your intuition and seeking answers to specific questions. So again, there was this tarot reader that or this like lady that I met in New Orleans whenever I was in a shop looking for a tarot deck, and we were just talking. And it was my first tarot deck, and the guy I was dating at the time got them for me for my birthday, and so we were just talking, and I was like, like I practice and stuff like that, but I've never really been big into reading tarot. I read Oracle mostly and things like that. And I was like, I just don't know. I forget what I said. I said something about them like, being used for like magic and things like that or whatever. And she was like, no, the important thing to remember is that it's not the cards that are magical, it's you. And I was like, you know what? And there are people who I've met that do readings with normal playing cards too. And there's
Yeah.
no magical sense to normal playing cards. But also, if you think about magicians, people who do like sleight of hand and like things like that, they use normal playing cards. Like it's the tool is just a tool. It depends on how you use it. You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
and I think that that's speaks volumes to what the scholarly research showed is that I think it's important for us to know the history. I think it's very important for us to know that there is no actual link to any of the things that these occultists were claiming, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we can still use them for divination. That's like one of the biggest arguments against Ouija boards, where people are like, no, but like they're not real, they're just toys and blah blah blah. Actually, to start with, they were not made to be toys. There's a whole historical background on it where they were in fact used, and there's an evolution of them too. And actually, Ouija boards were not the only type of like board at the time, like spirit board at the time. There were multiple types. There were
All right.
different brands. There were different ones that people were coming out with. It's just Ouija became very popular and is the one that has lasted to today. And the whole reason why they lasted, fun fact, is because they started selling it as a children's toy. And they had to do it because of certain tax reasons. But they were like, well, if we sell this as a children's toy, because at that time, they weren't like spiritualism hit America, and it basically they like people weren't afraid of like demon possession and things like that, and like things coming through the Ouija boards. They were like, everybody was trying to communicate with the dead, everybody was trying to communicate with past loved ones and spirits and things like that. And so it was like a fun trend and fad that was going on. And so for the tax reasons, they had to then start marketing it as a children's toy, and now people are like, well, it's just a children's toy, there's nothing like actually like it's only ever been a children's toy, and it's like, no, actually it wasn't. So I
No,
think it's important for us to
fun.
know, especially like me, like I don't want to touch a Ouija board. I've never had any
Never.
intention, you know,
Nope.
like no wanting to whatsoever. But there are people who do it regularly, and those people who do it regularly, they understand the history of it, they understand the step by step of it, you know what I'm saying? So that's the
Well,
main thing.
for the most part. I mean, I've known some people to use it and they're like, yeah, this is gonna be fun. And then they use it and use it and use it, and then they don't know what they're doing, and then they're calling upon things that they don't need to be calling upon, and
Yeah.
it gets scary. And I no, no.
Correction, people who do it regularly safely are the ones who know the history of it and things like that. Like there's a podcast that I listen
Correct.
to
Correct.
called And That's Why We Drink, and they actually did an episode about Ouija boards and like how it all came to be and everything. And one of the hosts on there, she uses the Ouija board like regularly for fun, but she also understands the full step process, history, all that other stuff. So she's safer about it, you know? And so, but it's those people that are like, I'm gonna go get a Ouija board and blah blah blah, and you know, those are the ones that like unleashing shit on themselves. But anyways, so that is tarot cards. A brief history of tarot cards and oracle cards and so on and so forth. And now just to kind of give a breakdown on tarot cards and like a tarot card deck. Um, whenever whenever it said that there were different suits, you're going to have, and they're the same basic, there are slight variations in like what they're called, but you're going to have the swords, the stabs, the pinnacles, and the cups. Now, sometimes swords will be knives, sometimes stabs will be batons, or they'll be wands. Sometimes your pinnacles will be coins, or they'll be discs, but
Mhm.
they're still the same basic thing. Then each of them also have their own element paired to them. And so, like swords, it changes depending on who you talk to. The most common one is that it is air, but some people will say that it's fire. And then wands or batons will have, or stabs, whatever you call them, they are fire most commonly, but some people will say that they're air. So they'll flip flop those two. Then your discs or coins or pinnacles, those are earth. And then your cups are water. And so let me see. Okay, so like this is the Nine of Cups. And so the deck that I'm reading from is called the if I can get it to focus. Bring it back here. There we go. But
They kept bringing it.
yeah, well, it's because I've got the blurred background on and it's wanting to see my
Oh,
face. There we go. So it's well, nope, it's blurring it again. Anyways,
yeah.
here we'll just
Okay.
do this. But so I'm reading from it's called, now this is probably not a good one to bring up because I just thought about this because of the name. But it's called the Illuminati Tarot. If I
Oh
can
my gosh. No one look into that. That's not what it means.
hold on, we're just gonna turn off the blur background for a second. Sorry if you guys see my messy room. I'm still doing house renovations and reorganizing and resetting things up. So turn this off. There we go. So here we go. It's called the Illuminati Tarot. This is the cover book. Or the like outline book. This is the Nine of Cups. And so the Nine of Cups typically in a tarot reading means having everything that you need to succeed, having everything that you need for a happy ending, like having all of the resources available to you and things like that. Its element is water, its number is 9. And now let's pull another card. This is the Three of Wands. So Three of Wands usually means waiting on something that is coming into you. So you can kind of see that by the guy that he's posed waiting on the ships to come dock. And it can talk about like having to either be ready for an attack, or it can be talking about ready for something really cool being brought to you. So just being ready for something to be brought to you. Its element, I read them as the element is fire. Now, each tarot suit also has to do with like timing as well. So you can use them as sort of like a timing tool, like when will this happen or when should I be prepared for this?
Sure.
Your wands are going to be typically very quick movement, very quick timing. So if I pulled the Three of Wands and somebody was asking for times, I would say 3 days. You know, like Three of Wands is typically going to be your like days, maybe even hours, but days. If a pinnacle is pulled, or like a coin is pulled, that's going to be like your months to maybe even years. Now, for swords, it gets a little bit different. So swords, you could say it's going to be in between, 3 days and 3 years or
Mhm.
whatever. So you could say around 3 months, or swords could mean that it's unpredictable. So it could say like, as of right now, it's set up to happen in like 3 months, whatever, but you're not going to see this coming. Like it's going to happen very abruptly, very quickly, and very jabby. With the cups, because it's water, it could be talking, or it will, like, if somebody asks how long is this going to happen, the cups could be like, well, it's also unpredictable, but it really relies on you, or reminds on your emotional well-being, your emotional status. Like, what decisions are you making right now to make this happen if it's something you're wanting to happen? So that's
Right.
sort of like a brief overview for time. And then, of course, oh, here's the Fool. So the Fool is the one that they said was the wild card, and it's also part of the major arcana. And this is the cover. Wow, another major arcana. This is the what is on the cover book. This is the High Priestess. Now the Fool talks about the beginning of a new journey, typically very spiritual journey. And it talks about like being, so it's number on the card, because each of the major arcana have a number on their card. And so the number on its card is 0, and that is because a true beginning is before you've even started. So, like, you don't step up to the beginning. You are, like, the true beginning is before you step up. So, like, where are you at whenever, like, when you're watching a movie, you don't just all of a sudden see the main character start their quest or their journey. You see where they were before they started. You see, like, what they're doing before the plot point really hits, you know? And so that's sort of like the Fool is like, it's letting you know you're in the true beginning to something beautiful, to a new journey, to something that's about to start for you. And then the High Priestess talks about what's her number?
I was about to say
What's her number?
that's really deep though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now where did the High Priestess just go? She was just here. There she is. Her number is 2. And so the High Priestess talks about like basically listening to your intuition and sticking to the old, like sticking with tradition. Don't really don't break away too much at this moment. Like, listen to what your gut's telling you to do, things like that. And so how because each of the like there's a number with them, and then there's a suit with them, which often has an element and things like that. How I started memorizing them a little bit better is that I try to keep in mind what numbers can symbolize. So like the number 7 is like a number of completion. It's the number of a process being finished or coming to a loop, something coming to an end, so something new can begin. And so it's sort of like the next step point at the end of a process. So like if you keep that in mind and then apply that to the suits. So like the 7 of Cups is all about having abundance, having things flow to you very quickly, but also having to make a decision, which kind of goes with that 7 of things coming to an end so that something new can begin. Basically, you have all the options in front of you. You just simply have to make the decision on which option you want to take. And so like keeping that in mind, you can kind of apply that a little bit to each of the suits. And then that like, or like, I don't know, like 3 is one of balance, and it's one of like kind of patience, but not really. It's sort of just like making sure where you are right now is balanced. You're not moving around too much, you're not doing too much. And like even with the 3 of Wands earlier, it's all about waiting on something to come in, not moving too much at this moment, to make sure that you're there and prepared whenever something is coming in for you. So that's the main way that I started remembering how to do it. And then also just looking at the images on the deck. There have been so many times where, like, this is the Ace of Cups, where I'll be giving somebody a reading, and if I'm feeling kind of blocked and don't really know what the cards are saying, I'll look at the card itself and say, like, what's sticking out to me right now? Like, what stands out to me? And surely I'll notice something brand new that I've never noticed before. And I'm like, ooh, this is specifically for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Oracle's decently similar too to that, because now, I mean, they're not really assigned like numbers or anything like that, but I mean, first off, you never want to get an Oracle deck, in my opinion, without some kind of border or like a gold rimming or even a silver rimming, just for the sake of like, keeping clean energy and making sure that you can, move that around. But also like with the cards, like it's all for me is intuition based. And I mean, obviously some futuristic stuff comes with, that, and like being able to like kind of feel the feelings of that. But it's pretty straightforward, and it's always like, okay, well, like it sounds like you're having this type of situation, and you don't know all the specifics right away because that person has free will, but you can make some deductions of like, okay, like this is the feeling I'm getting, this is what I'm being told intuitionally, this is what I'm being told spiritually. How am I going to go about that? How am I going to tell this person the story of what they're looking for? And so it's just really interesting, and like looking at the pictures is a big one for me. And I have the same kind of thing that Sam said, where, one thing will pop out and you're like, oh, never noticed that there before. And that is meant for that person. It's very interesting. And I like how they kind of intertwine a little bit.
Yeah, and I actually have some oracle cards, and it's Gabby's favorite oracle card deck of mine, to show too, just so you can kind of see the difference. So like, you saw like the cards on my tarot deck were like tall and cylindrical and things like that. And then my oracle card deck, which is, this one's the Halloween oracle, and this was my very first oracle card deck that was ever gifted to me. Somebody had them and couldn't connect with them well, and so they wanted them to have a new home and found a home with me. And so like, this is like the ghost, and underneath it just says ghost on it, and then underneath ghost it says regrets. And there's
Yeah.
no, there's no number or anything like that on it, and it just has a picture that symbolizes it.
But also you can see on that specific, I mean, all the cards are like that, but you could see that it has a black rim frame around the picture and around the word in it, very nice.
For protection. Yeah, that makes sense. I've never even noticed that before. And so, or like thought about that before. And then this is like the owl. See, it's very different, but still kind of on brand, on theme, same back and everything. And it says owl, and then underneath it says wise seeing, wise action.
Very fun.
Yeah. And then it's really just up to you as the reader to decide, what is it saying? Like, what does it feel like it's saying? Like, using your intuition and your gifts and things like that. This is Barmbrak, which I honestly can't remember what Barmbrak actually is from real life, but the underneath thing says sweetness and synergy. And so like, like oracle cards, it's more just kind of like whatever that artist wants to put in there is what they put in there. They don't have that 78 card sort of outline that they have to stick to. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but Oracle's always really fun for me because I always feel like I can kind of tell my own story. And, I know tarot's more classically known to be with like certain types of spreads and stuff when you do read. I've seen people do, the spreads, but also just kind of like free nilly it.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and I free nilly as well with Oracle, just because it helps me kind of get more detail and be more specific towards the person I'm looking at, and not looking at the book and stuff like that is pretty helpful too. But yeah, it's very interesting time.
Definitely. Well, that is all that I have for tarot. Gabby, did you have anything else you wanted to add now that we are wrapping it up?
Love y'all. Welcome to season 2. Woohoo!
Yeah, I think it's so funny that we're recording this, and then right after this, we're recording episode 2 of season 2, which I think the reason I think it's funny is that I went through the whole beginning of like, this weekend I did blah, 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 blah. And like on the next episode, we're probably going to have a similar discussion. And I'm going to be like, yeah, I talked about it on the Weird Wednesday, but the Weird Wednesday comes after season 2. So I'm basically just going to have to go through the whole blurb again as if I haven't said it before.
No, we'll make it more fun. We'll make it more exciting for everyone.
Definitely. But yeah, well, that's all that I have, and that's all for Weird Wednesday season 2 episode 1. I'm super excited because I believe, Gabby, correct me if I'm wrong, next episode or next Weird Wednesday is you and Sid, right?
Let me look at my calendar, because here's the thing: if it's not in the calendar, then I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Awesome. So yeah, you'll get to hear from Sid again, which is super awesome. So make sure you tune in. That is the third Wednesday of every month while we're airing. So like during our seasons. So yeah, but thank you guys so much for tuning back into an episode of Enhance, but a bonus episode, Weird Wednesday. And we will catch you next time.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Weird Wednesday. Tune in the third Wednesday of every month for more strange, unsettling, and spooky.